My name is Jim Cernan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the superintendent here at Northern Burlington. It certainly is my pleasure to once again welcome everyone here for tonight's ceremony. I particularly enjoy the evening because I've had the opportunity to watch this program grow from its inception. And I want to thank, I don't have any responsibility to thank anyone this evening. But quite frankly, there's one person that I will thank because he's done a tremendous job. And that's Dr. Dan Uzaki, who's our athletic director, who really helped put this together. Dr. Dan, thank you very much. I'd also like to welcome two of my bosses are here this evening, Mr. Kevin Zimmer, board member, and Mr. Jerry Spence. They're here tonight as well to enjoy the evening. And Dr. Lopez, our high school principal. Welcome, Dr. Lopez. So, one personal story. Back in 1995, I know the 1995 football team is being recognized this evening. I was going to my second year as superintendent at Northern Burlington. The interesting part of this story is that I was coming from Kingsway. A lot of people didn't know that, but I had spent 8 years in the Kingsway district, and I knew many of the players. I knew the superintendent very well, and they were all coming up for this football game that I believe they were supposed to win. They were asking me what side of the stadium I was going to be sitting on. There's no question where I was that day. I remember the game very, very well, and I remember that moment. It was a lot of fun to soundly defeat the community that I had just come from, and I knew that I was in the right place. So I look around, I see a lot of friends, I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Uzaki. I wish you all a wonderful evening. And congratulations to all the inductees this evening. Congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to welcome everybody to tonight's event. For those of you that may have not been here in the past, this is our 9th Athletic Hall of Fame induction. And I do want to thank a couple of people that are an integral part of pulling that off. So first and foremost, the Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. If you're a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, could you please stand up for a second and just be recognized by the audience? There is one person that's not here tonight. That's Miss Michelle O'Neill. She's actually at the Fiddler on the Roof right now supporting her daughter at Northern Burlington. And I do want to give her a special shout out because I know that this is being videotaped and she'll probably watch it and yell at me. But I will say right now, Michelle does an excellent job. She constantly is working on this. It is a nonstop job, and as much of the work that the people on the committee are putting in, Michelle is doing 20 times the amount of that work. It consumes every day of her life. And the 2017 Athletic Hall of Fame will start tomorrow for her. So let's all give Michelle O'Neill a round of applause, please. I also want to thank a couple of other people. I want to thank Mr. Wolverton and Mr. Potts for getting together and getting the plaques together for tonight's event. I want to thank Ms. Germaine for doing the photography for tonight's event, and our video production team, who will be displaying this on the cable channel probably later this week. They're so efficient, so thank you to them. Our event starts off quick, so in about 2 seconds, if you're not turned around and paying attention, you're going to miss some phenomenal Northern Burlington history. I will go off on a little bit of a rant here and tell you that tonight is probably one of my more favorite nights. I have a lot of things that I do throughout the campus, ups and downs, but this is like, seriously for me, it's turned into a magical evening. You will learn more about Northern Burlington history, athletics, the school, anything in general, some personal things. I've seen people come up here and laugh. I've seen people come up here and cry. It's truly an amazing night, so I do ask that, for the next hour and a half or 2 hours, just unplug, turn off your phone. If your kids are at home, The babysitter's going to have them. They're going to be fine. There's no email or text message that's important right now. Pay attention because you're going to learn a lot about what it is to be a greyhound. So without further ado, I would like to bring up our first presenter of the night, and that will be Coach Sandy Cronick, and she will be introducing Joanne Hench. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Good to see you, too.
I'm going to have to talk close and stay in front of this mic.
Okay. Joanne is one of 6 athletic and accomplished siblings, each successful in their own right. Her ability to excel or sometimes survive in this close-knit and competitive group might be considered a major accomplishment in and of itself. That doesn't happen by accident, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that this is no ordinary family, starting with her remarkable parents, a clan of brothers, sisters, and extended relatives that provide new insight into the age-old debate of nature versus nurture. In other words, is a person successful because they are born with the genes that give them the best chance as an athlete, or is it that intangible, that something more that is learned, encouraged, nurtured by their environment, something that evolves as a response to the role models you are surrounded by and the choices you make? Anyone who knows Janet Piggott and has seen her work ethic will already have the answer to that question. But let me share a few anecdotes to prove my assertion that Joanne Piggott was not simply born with good genes, although that's true. She has also been encouraged, supported, and challenged by her family, and she has consistently made the hard choices to sacrifice and to do whatever it took to be in the game and to achieve each success. In that process, she has learned to embrace the opportunities her life lessons have provided, to stretch her comfort zone, and to become that which matters to her, is a source of pride to her family, and makes a difference to those around her. Let me start by saying I don't know a Piggott that is not competitive to their core, and Joanne is no exception. As an example, when Joanne took over the head coach's job in field hockey, Chris Haynes gave her all the records set by players from every prior season. As soon as Joanne's playing record was in jeopardy, the archives inexplicably disappeared. By my recollection and the word of her mom, Joanne and her brothers would compete for everything. For example, they harassed one sibling during a simple weekly card game for taking too long to play a hand. One of them decided to generate a new competition outside the card game. The bet was made that this individual could run down the street to a set location and get back before the other one played their hand. Game on. Once the first sibling accomplished their goal and set the time, the rest of them were compelled to try and beat that. In another situation, simply observing one tall cornstalk towering above the others in an adjacent field stirred a sibling rivalry focused on who could best navigate the rest of the field and end up closest to it. Game on. As each single competitor had to blindly navigate through the surrounding rows of corn, the remaining Piggotts were taunting from the deck or feigning support and hoping for downright failure. Each one exclaiming confidence they could beat the Piggott that went before them. What did they win? Nothing. Nothing except the experience of competing, beating the others, and finding a better way to do something. In addition to being competitive, Joanne is fiercely loyal to her family and the things she believes in and values. Although, the one exception might be the time your mother asked you to take care of your younger sister Michelle and you lost her in the same cornfield I was just talking about. Joanne learned to hold her own in a family, a proudly competitive family, with a father who was her first athletic coach. Once during a basketball game that one of the kids was playing in, Mr. Piggott spontaneously announced to his officials on the court that they had just made a mistake, with no other motivation, of course, besides just helping them to correct an imperfect thought. With no sense of humor or any recognition of who they were dealing with, those misguided officials ordered him ejected. They probably didn't know that half the stands were filled with piggets or their direct relatives. As her father reluctantly left the gym, Joanne admonished the officials' judgment, calling out to them and assuring all the rest of the spectators within earshot, "He knows more about basketball than you'll ever forget." Unfortunately, the officials were unswayed by her confidence and more influenced by her lack of evidence. The rest of the family describes Joanne as generous beyond a point. For example, one day she borrowed her mom's favorite sweater, and the next time her mother saw it, it was on the free table of a yard sale. Or the time Chris Hensch took the middle school coaches out to lunch and tried to encourage a sense of togetherness and camaraderie across the levels. Chris generously invited them to join the varsity team for preseason training in the summer heat. Joanne, a middle school coach, not scheduled to start practice for another 2 weeks, graciously declined by responding, "No thanks, that's why I don't coach high school." Joanne found the perfect partner and friend in her husband. I have no real proof, but I suspect she and Andy have competitions about who can hike and bike the farthest in the shortest amount of time. Seriously, who hikes the entire Appalachian Trail, and why? I think it's because you know your brothers and sisters won't, so game on. One of the other things I always loved about Joanne was her honesty and straightforward willingness to tell the unabridged truth of the matter. After I presented a Northern field hockey team being honored at one of the prior banquets, she told me, "I never understood what you were saying when I played for you, and I still don't." So, in case the things I have said are viewed in any other way, except from a place of great respect and affection, let me be clear about how I see this exceptional person we're honoring tonight. For those motivated by statistics, it will suffice it to say her South Jersey record for scoring in a single season was not broken for 40 years, not until 2014. To give that 1 point greater clarity, Joanne had only 1 year of hockey experience before moving to a varsity position and setting that record. Most field hockey players now have gone through years of elementary, middle school, and travel team experience before even playing on a varsity team, never mind setting a record that could stand for 40 years. This is certainly an incredible achievement that Joanne should be remembered for, but from my perspective, I'm compelled to say it may not be her most lasting impact. One of the highest compliments I can give someone is to tell them they made a difference in the lives of those around them. Joanne, your actions, your choices, the way that you accepted challenges and worked your way through them, the sacrifices that you and your family made to achieve the successes you achieved have influenced the people around you. I was constantly asked by coaches, officials, at all the games that you played, how I could get this person to show such persistence, such relentlessness in a pursuit of winning. They wanted to know how they could have their own teams achieve like that, and I told them it came naturally to you, and that every day you took advantage of every moment that was possible on the practice field. Your nature was and is rooted in the understanding that to be more, you will have to do more. Never boastful about or ungrateful for your gifts, a leader by example, always clear about your responsibility to yourself and those around you. Simply put, you do the right thing, you do your very best, and you are your word. It is a powerful legacy that reaches far beyond any numbers of goals scored. You made a difference because you helped all of us to imagine outside the lines of our own limitations and to believe in what might be possible from this game we loved, the roles we had chosen to play, and the people we dreamed of becoming. I cannot imagine what my expectations for every other player I have ever coached might have been if I had not had the privilege of coaching this extraordinary person and athlete, and the honor of knowing the Piggott family that challenged, supported, and encouraged the person she has become. Congratulations, Joanne Piggott, on a life well lived, the accomplishments you achieved, and most of all, the difference you made in the lives of others.
That's going to be, can you hear me? I'm not used to talking to a mic. I probably can talk a lot louder without it, but that was probably the nicest things anybody ever said to me, other than my husband, of course. But I do want to say that, first of all, this is huge that I'm the first picket up here. I just want you to know that. Because if you take a look at this table here, and then my brother back there, and my family over here, they're full of Hall of Famers. And to be the first one up here is a huge privilege. I know my brother Kermit's been nominated. He's just more humble than I am. I accepted, he didn't. But this has been such an honor. I want to thank the committee for selecting me. Hank Kearns for doing the slideshow. He's been awesome. He worked with me when I was the field hockey coach. And I know the time that he puts into this. So I appreciate this whole night. This is something I'm never going to forget. And I just want to say, when you said to me that I was a big influence on your fellow players, well, you were also a big influence on me, because I knew early on that I wanted to be a phys ed teacher and a coach, and it was because of you. The standards that you set for female players at Northern Burlington has continued on ever since you started. And when you started, it was 1971, 72, and we had split sessions back then. And I couldn't play sports, and our only option was twirling, cheerleading, color guard, and intramural sports. So I loved Northern Burlington because I started going when I watched Kermit play back in 1965. And I wanted to be a part of it. And so I decided, okay, I'll follow in the footsteps of my older sister, who was a cheerleader. And my mother was a cheerleader, too. She keeps reminding me. She was a cheerleader, too. So I followed in the footsteps of my mother and my sister because I wanted to be a part of Northern. And then 7th, 8th, and 9th graders went to school in the afternoon. And then 10th, 11th, 12th graders went to school in the morning. So I didn't have the opportunity to play sports. So when I became a sophomore, we had interscholastic sports for the first time. And so Sandy Cronick, who, she won't mind me saying this, never played field hockey. But she turned, I was with her for 2.5 to 3 years, and we became district champions because of Sandy. And it wasn't so much the hard skills, because she didn't even know the rules. And what was nice was neither did the parents, but the funny thing was, my father, he didn't know the rules, but boy, did he yell all the time. And like she said, he got kicked out of a basketball game, he didn't know, half the time what was going on, but he knew if the arm was facing in the wrong direction, not towards Northern Burlington, he's going to yell about it. So he did. So I just want to thank you. To turn a program into a championship team, it's because of the soft skills you taught us. You taught us about the importance of feeling proud of ourselves for what we did, if we won or we lost, and showing respect for our teammates. And I have some of my teammates here, the Frecks are here, and they were defense for me. And I could be a leading scorer, but Sally Duran was our goalie, and she's the one that stopped those goals. And Susan Onishek was my center mid, and you guys will tell it. If Susan Onishek didn't bring the ball up, Lauren Piggott didn't bring the ball up, we wouldn't have the success that we did. So it's those other players, too, that don't get the recognition because they don't get the goals. Chris Haynes will say, well, yeah, you scored all the goals because you played Marie Katzenbach for the deaf, you played such and such for the blind, but still it was, competitive for us back then. We still played Florence, Bordentown, Heightstown, Hopewell. We still had those good teams and stuff. But it was those lessons that have carried on to my personal and my professional life that I want to thank you for. So, and behind every good athlete, there's a great family, and she already said it. You don't need to hear my stories. You know how competitive we are. We turn everything into a competition. And when I met Andy, he hated it. He went to school, he was on a debate team. He hated it. His first words out of his mouth is, I hated jocks in high school. And he tells me, I can't believe I married a jock. But thank you for opening me to a whole world of new sports, the outdoor sports, and the rock climbing, the mountain biking, and I got to introduce it to my family, too. So it's been a great experience at Northern. I tell my kids when I taught, it's the best years of your life. Take advantage of it, and I loved every minute of it. So I just want to thank my family for coming. And, you guys were awesome growing up with. We used to play bat ball across the street, working man up. We used to play hockey up at the church parking lot. We were constantly playing with one another. My father wanted a baseball team. He settled for a basketball team with one sub, and she lives in San Antonio. So she couldn't make it tonight to substitute. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for being here. My colleagues, thank you. I love you, miss you. So I appreciate you coming. So.
All right. Next up on tonight's agenda is 1988 class Germaine Wilkins being introduced by Coach Hank Kearns.
And just stay in front of the podium.
Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me in the back? Can you hear me back there? Because I can hear you. Okay. When Jermaine asked me to do this, he didn't realize that I had a condition. I'm old. I had some tests done. I went for an MRI and my abdominal region. And they came back, the first thing the radiologist said was excessive fecal matter without blockage. So I guess it means I'm full of it. So that's, I'm in trouble here. So what people said about me has been true. I want to thank Northern Burlington for sponsoring this event tonight to recognize our Hall of Fame inductees. We have a great school at Northern that does a wonderful job with all the levels of ability. But tonight, we're going to recognize some of our most outstanding people. I am honored to introduce Germaine Wilkins. Thinking back to my recollections of Jermaine, he was not your average high school athlete. If you saw the video, if you had a chance to see it, but the list of things he did were just amazing. Nor was he your typical high school young man. He was more confident, more mature. When I think of Jermaine, he reminds me of the ZZ Top song, Sharp Dressed Man. Here's the first verse of that song. Clean shirt, new shoes. And I don't know where I'm going to go, or to do rather. Silk suit, black tie. I don't need a reason why. They come running just as fast as they can because every girl crazy about a sharp-dressed man. And if you notice, Jermaine is sharp-dressed tonight. He's still sharp-dressed. Jermaine did not act nor dress like the typical average teenager. He wore hats, dress hats. He would come to dinners not dressed in a suit, but in a tuxedo. I'm sure you've all noticed, I'm sorry, again, I think you've noticed, I missed my line, I'm sorry. He's still a well-dressed man, I messed that up. I can't vouch about the girls come running, but Jermaine certainly attracted people. For example, on the ride home on the activity bus, every day, he had his own seat. And he would sit in his own chair with both arms over the back of the seats like his throne. And he would hold court on the ride home. Stories were told, jokes were shared, but no jokes were told about Jermaine. He was the king. Recognition of Jermaine's accomplishments are long overdue. Jermaine had an outstanding high school career. And there's been many high school athletes who won all conference, all state, but they never made it to the next level. Jermaine not only made it to the next level, he excelled. When I did the video, when I did the speech, I wrote to Jermaine. I said, Jermaine, tell me what happened at Missouri. He never told us. He kept it a secret. So he wrote back to me. And here's what he sent to me. He said, Coach, in 1989, 1990, 1991, I was the Tiger Quarterback Club Special Teams Player of the Year. In 1991, I was the defensive player of the game against Indiana, Kansas, and Iowa State. At that year, I also tied for the leader in interceptions. In 1992, I was Defensive Player of the Game against Oklahoma State, Colorado, Utah State, Marshall, Iowa State, Kansas, and Kansas State. Just to sort of stop for a second, if you're coaches, you all know that you tend to want to spread the awards out. He got all of the awards. He was an amazing player. He goes on to say, I was the Tiger liftoff runner-up in 1991 with 1,265 total pounds and 1,290 pounds in 1992, measured by the power clean, the squat, and the bench press. I was the only defensive back to squat. Take a guess. How many pounds do you think he squatted? Just take a guess. Who wants to take a stab at it? Give me a number. 450? He's a defensive back now. He's not a very big guy here. What do you think he did? 300? 600 pounds. They called him Dr. Squat. Okay, he goes on to say, I could give you more information if I could get a hold of, here are the names he gave me. Andy Reid. We all know Andy Reid, right? Some people want him still to be back in Philadelphia. Dave Taub. He was the special teams coach for the Eagles. Now he's with the Chiefs. Dirk Coder. He's the head coach of Tampa Bay. Marty Morningwig. He was with Reed at Philadelphia. I think he was a quarterback coach there, and now he's with the Ravens. What is not on the list that Jermaine sent me was his kindness and his classiness. He came back to Northern several times. He spent time talking to our athletes. And if I was Jermaine, I'd have my name and all the things I did on my chest. He never said that. He kept that a secret. He spent time talking to the athletes, and he shared with me what he had learned at Missouri. We talked about techniques and coverages, and then he gave me his playbook. Jermaine is a talented individual who has won the respect and love of many people that want to express their feelings for him tonight. My comments alone would be inadequate. So please take a few minutes. We're going to watch a video of other people sharing their opinions of Jermaine.
Stephen Wilson from the class of 1989. One of the greatest classes to come out of Northern Burlington. A lot of athletes, a lot of student athletes and scholars. But the one we're talking about today, Germaine Wilkins, was probably the best one out of the crew. You led us in so many different ways, Wizard.
Hey, Jermaine, Coach P here. Want to congratulate you on this very special evening, your induction to Northern Burlington Athletic Hall of Fame. Certainly long overdue, and certainly an individual that is well deserving of this honor.
Jermaine was just a great guy. A lot of people respected him. A lot of people were drawn to him. The guy would take his shirt off his back to help another. I appreciated that.
I have tremendous respect for you as an athlete, and even more so as a person. And what I respect most is the way you conducted yourself in every aspect of the school life here at Northern Burlington. But most importantly, you took your academics very seriously, and as a citizen in the school community, you were really a great role model for every other athlete on the football team and every other person in the school.
As far as his athletic ability, I mean, it's pretty simple. Back then, he was a freak. 6'3", abs, could dunk a basketball player like an NBA player.
And I can't think of too many people that I remember in high school that could do a 360 and dunk a basketball.
Benton is forced to scramble, and his throw is picked off by Germaine Wilkins. Missouri football in midfield. That was the beginning of a Mizzou scoring blitz. Here's Germaine Wilkins.
Your work as an athlete, your body of work as an athlete, in terms of your unselfish play, putting your teammates first, your athleticism, your tremendous versatility. The great things about you, we could put you anywhere on the team, outside linebacker, strong safety, wide receiver, play in a slot, do anything. And whatever we asked you to do, you did well.
You were an athlete, brother. There's nothing that you couldn't do. I was honored when Coach Kearns called me to tell me that you were getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. I wonder what took everybody so long to realize that, but better late than never. I sat back and I smiled. I shed a couple tears of joy because I take this at the utmost honor and respect to be asked to speak on your behalf and to talk about you.
We had a 3-day football camp was put on by Coach Charlie Perrello, Coach Kearns, and the rest of the coaching staff. And so it was basically we were staying the night over at Northern Burlington and then practicing during the day. And it was time for us to go to sleep. We're sleeping in the hallways at Northern Burlington. And I can remember once the lights went out, I was throwing M&Ms at Jermaine. I think I threw like 3. I picked them off. And I remember Jermaine getting up and saying, "Word is born. The next M&M that hits me, there's going to be a problem." And so I refrained from throwing any more M&Ms, being that I was the new guy. And Jermaine, if you remember that, that was me. Jermaine's a great guy. You probably already know that. If you haven't met him, just go up and have a conversation with him. Easy to talk to, very friendly. That's how I remember him. And I still talk to him this day, so I know he's still that way. Very humble individual.
The things that I do here, it's because of what we did there in New Jersey. I love you, man. I'm honored. I'm honored. You took it from Northern Burlington to Missouri and represented us there. And on them Saturday afternoons when we would watch that TV and watch you, man, we were there too.
Throughout it all, though, you conducted yourself with great integrity, and I think that more than anything makes us all proud. I'm so happy that this award, this recognition has finally come your way, and I wish you nothing but the very best.
I'd like to present Jermaine.
Wow. It's kind of hard to gauge what kind of impact you have on the people that you come in contact with. Here I am, a guy that's, from Albany, New York, come down to Northern Burlington, don't know anybody, but developed the relationships that I had at Northern Burlington. Had a lot of positive influences that I came into contact with. My teachers that stuck with me, helped me out with specific things and had me think about things for the future. As a 9th grader coming down, never having left the state of New York and then come down to rural New Jersey. The bus ride in and of itself, passing by the cows, and then sometimes the cows would change the field. And we're waiting for the cows to get all the way across before the bus takes us to school. It was something to behold. Or be out at practice and Coach P say, "Everybody in," and we go running in and you see deer come running out of the field, and everything that actually occurred. I mean, it was truly my honor and truly a blessing to actually go out and perform at Northern Burlington every week, every day. I built so many relationships. Dave Hallion, Brian Wolverton, David Archer. The list is innumerous. I couldn't, well, I don't think we have enough time, and I don't think you would want to listen to me that long because everybody's hungry. But it is just, a great honor to have actually attended a school where, that embraced the entire family structure. Just don't know what to really say. I appreciate everybody that came out to support me. I appreciate those who actually helped me along the way. I couldn't have done the things that I actually accomplished without somebody actually having faith in me to actually do the things that I have done. When I came down from New York, I was strictly a basketball player. tell you a story with me and Coach P. I played freshman ball, you know, me and Brian was on the same team. You know, I came down and, you know, with my old New York attitude, oh, y'all can't touch me and all that. Never having played organized football in my life. But, you know, Coach Marchitello and Ferriello had faith in me to do specific things, and they saw something in me on the football field. Basketball-wise, I had Coach Crivero for freshman year, and then John Black for my sophomore, junior, and senior years. But all in all, as a basketball player, Coach P saw something in me. He had a conversation with me on the side. He said, listen, Northern Burlington is really not known for basketball. He said, you probably could go out there and score 50 points every game, but they're not really known for basketball, so I don't know how much people will actually recognize you for that. He said, but if you play football for me, he said, I guarantee you that you will definitely be an athlete that's able to attend college. My guidance counselor was Mr. Sokoloff. I used to go and talk to him all the time of what I needed to do to actually go to the University of Missouri, you know, when they, or just to get in college in general. I used to have a lot of conversations with Mr. Whitworth. I never even took one of his classes, but I had conversations with him anyway, you know. But all in all, throughout my entire, you know, high school career, there were a lot of positive role models that put me in the right position to get where I needed to go to actually further my education. And so, in closing, I say thank you to the Northern Burlington community, Coach P, Coach Kearns, Coach Smith, Carmine Pastor, all of the coaches that actually helped me to become the person that I am. And once again, I just say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Just a little side commentary here real quick, Jermaine, if you're getting back to your seat and listening. One of the better parts of my job here with my involvement in the Athletic Hall of Fame is putting together those storyboards and looking up the old pictures in the yearbook. And I swear to God, I couldn't find one embarrassing picture of you. I looked at every picture like it was shot yesterday, and you look so cool. So congratulations again. Great job. Our next class is Al Wanish, class of 2005, and he will be presented by Coach Jewel Dolce. You got to keep it close, and you got to stay in front of this. Wow. Just got to, because they won't be.
I was Hello? Thanks, Bob. After Coach Kearns' introduction, I was extremely nervous about my position behind him after hearing about his horrible MRI results, Coach. Extremely nervous. Before I present Al, though, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for putting this on. You know, it's always a good idea and everything's nice and dandy, but it takes a lot of hard work to actually put things together. And for all the grunt work and all of those things, you know, the Hall of Fame committee deserves a big thank you. And this year is kind of special for me because of the Class 95 football team going in and Brian, two things that I like to think that I was kind of a part of. I probably should have paid more attention to Mike Hensley when he told me not to focus on school so much, so I could have played an extra year. I graduated in '94, so I missed the '95 team. But But Mike was diligent in trying to get me to stay that extra year. And, you know, Brian Wolverton is probably one of the biggest parts of my life as a human being. He's my older brother. I've been chasing everything that he's done since my sophomore year in high school. I don't know. I was joking with Brian that they had to restart the clock a little bit now that he's coaching middle school again, but they didn't listen. But just to thank you to all you guys. And tonight, my main honor in presenting Al. I had the privilege of coaching Al my first 4 years as a head coach. And through those 4 years, I know certainly how many bumps and bruises I went through as a coach. And Al was there for every one of them. And we battled through it all together. And I think sometimes when you do that, and the road isn't so easy, you're brought together closer. You know, Al is part of a dying breed of athlete. Now if you turn on ESPN or HBO, you see all these kids that are specialized. They only do one sport. To be the best football player you can be, you got to play all year. To be the best baseball player, wrestler you can be all year. Al was the opposite. Al was a competitor. That's all he ever wanted to do, is to compete. To this day, I guarantee you, Al has some type of MMA fight, slow pitch softball, flag football game, whatever you can find, Al's going to be a part of. And that speaks about who he is. In the fall, he played football. And I remember before his senior year, he thought that soccer might be a good idea. And I had a 5-minute conversation with him at the general store, somewhere that I probably went to a little too often. But Al was working there. And I asked Al, how was soccer going? The end of August. And he looked at me dead in the eyes with the look of a crazed human being. And he goes, Dulce, I got to hit somebody. I remember like it was yesterday. He went out the end of August. He was named a captain within the week because he was able to bring people together. And that's probably the most important thing that Al could contribute. All right? It was never about numbers with Al. It was always cut and dry. He was there for his teammates and his friends. In the spring, track, phenomenal track, has all the records with the hurdles at Northern Burlington still. He's a state placer in the hurdles. Still to this day holds the record for the hurdles. But I don't remember Al as a hurdler. I remember him out on the field trying to compete in more events because that's who he was. If it was throwing the disc, doing the long jump, throwing the jab, whatever he could do to compete, that was who he was. And where I got to know Al the most was in the winter. And that's really where we formed the bond that we have. Al was a phenomenal wrestler. Region championships, district championships. Still to this day, and I know Coach Gordon's in the stands, still to this day, I think Al had the best regular season of any wrestler in the history of Northern Burlington. His junior year, Al going 25-0. He beat 2 state placers, and just it was a phenomenal season that I was lucky to be a part of. But those things, those numbers, what he finished with didn't really matter to him. You talk to him for 5 minutes, an hour. His accomplishments never come up. It's about who he played with and why he played. You know, you see a lot of good high school athletes. You see a lot of multi-sport high school athletes. Al did all 3 at Trenton State or TCNJ. All 3. He played football for a season at TCNJ. Wow, he was an All-American hurdler. Still to this day has the record at TCNJ for the hurdles. And at the same time winning 35 matches for one of the top ranked national wrestling teams in the nation. 35 wins in a season. All while being an All-American hurdler and going out for the football team and playing and contributing. All special things. All unbelievable things. And you don't really think of them when you think of Al. And it's kind of crazy. I was laughing with his mom, Deb, at a track meet. and I just see Al, the same Al that I've always seen his freshman year. Scrawny, little. And then you see him do something, and you know that he was touched. When he called me and gave me the honor, though, I thought a lot about what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. And the story that stuck out to me the most, that would show you who he was probably a 5-minute encounter that I had with him and the athletic director at the time. As usual, I got called down to the athletic director's office. It was the norm back then for me. Get called down, and I was asked to take a seat. Jewel, we got an issue. I go, what's up, coach? She goes, it's Al. And I'm looking and nodding my head like I was trained to do. Nodding my head, nodding my head. At that point, Northern Burlington had a young man that was relegated to a wheelchair, facing cerebral palsy. Very limited in motion and movement. But he loved Northern, and he loved Northern athletics. And anybody that was at Northern around that time frame knew him. Always wore Northern gear. Came out with the wrestling team for intros. Was out with the football team. Everywhere. He just wanted to be a part of it. And the issue was Al, and I believe his stepbrother, were skipping class and taking this young man onto the mat and showing him how to pin somebody and showing him wrestling moves. And for as mad as I could be at somebody for skipping a class or doing something like that, it showed you about his heart, and it showed you who he was. And to me, that story best tells who Al is. His heart and his emotion was who he was. It's who he always will be. So to you guys, I'd like to present Al Wanish.
I should have wrote the speech. That's what I just keep telling myself. I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that. You know, my whole life I kind of bit off a little bit more than I could chew when it came to sports and doing stuff. And I don't think I would have been able to do anything if it wasn't for the support system that the Northern Burlington community has. My parents, you know, I'd always make these commitments, and then halfway through I'd be like, I just want to stay home and play video games. Because like back in the day, you know, you couldn't save. You had to like put it on pause and turn your TV off, and hopefully it wasn't frozen when you got back, you know. And my mom would always be like, listen, if you want to quit next year, you can quit next year, but you got to finish out the season. And she knew by the next season I would want to do it again, and it'd be the same process. But for 20 years, you know, she kept doing it over and over and over, and you know. I just remember, you know, the best. I think I can't tell you how honored I am. A lot of the people that are huge influences on my life, I'm getting inducted with. Mrs. Hench was my first PE teacher. I still can't move my finger the right way because of scooter races. I think they like it was like 3rd grade, you know, and like I'm getting inducted, and I'm, you know, I feel like I don't know. The 1995 football team. Always, when we would watch film in high school, the 1995 state champion team VHS was always on top of the VCR, and it would always get popped in once in a while. And you know, you grew up idolizing the team. You know, Rising would pop it in, and Washington would pop it in, and you'd watch the highlights of, and you look up to those guys. And now I'm getting inducted with them, and there's not words to explain how honored I am, you know, to be in the same class as those guys. I'm being honest when I say that I think that people thought higher of me than I thought of myself. And, you know, I would do these things, and I wouldn't want to let the support down. I wouldn't want to let the coaches down, and I didn't want to let my family down. You know, so like Coach Cronick said, you know, you have the athletes that are you know, naturally gifted, and then you have the competitors, and I just didn't want to let anyone down. So I did whatever I could to win. You know, a good example is, you know, I originally went out for track just to stay in shape for wrestling and football, because those are my sports. And like, I don't know, I have a lot of energy, you know, so I'm running around the track one day, and Coach A and Tito, and they're like, just start jumping over the hurdles. And they're like, Al, you're pretty good at that, you know? So like, that's how I became a hurdler, and it ended up being literally my best sport, you know? And it's because they believed in me. I didn't know I was a hurdler. I didn't even really want to run track that much. Freshman year, I mean, I would be late to practice, and they would look me in the eye and be like, listen, if you don't want to run track, I mean, don't run track, but you're not going to show up late to practice. And I never missed practice for 4 years after that. And it's because I didn't want to disappoint them, and I wanted to do the right thing, and I made the commitment, like my mom told me when I was growing up, and I wanted to keep it going, you know? I remember, what was it, Tito? Was it States? When it was raining out in the States. So we're sitting there, and I find myself in the state finals somehow. I don't even know how that even happened. Somehow I was in the state finals for track, and it's pouring, and Tito and I it's pouring. We're sitting, we find like a storage container to like take shelter, and they're like, Al, you can do this, you know. And I don't know what happened, but they said I could do it, and I believed in them, and I don't know, I ended up placing because they believed in me, and I didn't even really believe in myself when it came to that stuff. Dulcie one time came to my house and dragged me out of bed.
I think it was more than once.
All right, it was a couple times. It was that junior year when I was 25, I know that's because Dulcie dragged me out of bed every day. And, you know, no one would let me quit. It got hard, you know, and people kept pushing me, and you know, I can't. There's not words that I can come up with that describes how grateful I am to have these people in my life. I mean, even Miss C. I remember I'd come into Miss C's office, and I'd like ice my ankles and stuff, and she's like, Al, you need to wash your feet if I'm going to wrap your ankles every day. So just like, I mean, trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. There's so many people, I could go on and on. I mean, my friends, Dave, my training partner. But I think ultimately I just want it to be known that I couldn't have done it without the support of all of you guys, and the support of my parents, and you know, my teammates and my coaches that saw something that I didn't see, and I believed in them, and I trusted them, and you know, I did what I could to hold up to their standards and not let them down. So thank you guys very much. Mr. Lucas, thank you very much for nominating me. I was shocked, and hopefully I did a good job.
Should have wrote a speech, Al. Nah, I'm messing with you. Can you hear this? All right. All right. All right. So one more time. I know we're moving kind of quick here, and we're getting we got all the dinners out and stuff. But I do want to just give one more round of applause right now for the athletes that were inducted tonight: Joanne, Jermaine, and Al. We have two more inductions tonight. One is a coach, and the other one is a team. So I do want to say real quick, Mr. Wolverton, he's going to be inducted next. Brian is the first person that I ever taught with. He's the second person at Northern Burlington that I ever met, right behind Kathy Zayek, who we had lunch with like 2 weeks ago. So these people are very dear to my heart. He's the godfather to my daughter. He was my roommate for about 6 months when I had nowhere to live. And I was a kid who ran into New Jersey, fell in love with a girl from Lindenwold, and wasn't thinking about what my next step was. And Brian took me into his home like I was one of his kids. So tonight is very special for me with Brian. So Mr. Lucas, we'll be presenting him tonight. Come on up, Mr. Lucas. Brian Wolverton, class of 1988, coach 1998 to 2007. So just keep it real close to you. Keep him like real close and like.
Before I begin, I just want to say something. Dr. Yazaki, it wasn't that long ago you were saying something, you were introducing me, and I'm going to quote, you said, if there's one damn thing I learned from Jack Lucas, it was not technology. Well, it took you 5 minutes to either put the plug in or push the right button there, so, whoa. Comes back to bite you. Board of Education members, administrators, coaches, teachers, family and friends, and Hall of Fame members, good evening. A special welcome and congratulations to the 2016 Hall of Fame inductees and the 1995 NJSIAA state football champions. I'd like to give a special thanks to Chris Haynes, for it was Chris, after years of idle discussion in my tenure, discussion about the Hall of Fame, she brought it to fruition. So thank you, Chris, for this. It's an honor and a privilege to have been given the opportunity to introduce Coach Brian Wolverton into the Hall of Fame class of 2016. I've known Brian since his freshman year at Northern. Brian was the youngest of 4 children and obviously, as told by a family member, enjoyed the advantages of being the youngest, thus escaping the chastisement that would have been meted out to his older siblings. During these years of adolescence, he exhibited the same traits that we find in him even today. He was stubborn, he was extremely intense, and he was focused. Like a great symphony conductor, Brian knew where he wanted to take the program, and he knew how to get there. He had the unique ability to get the most out of his players as individuals and as a team. He knew what buttons to push and when to push them. He could cuddle, and he could be stern. The result, 4 BCSL Liberty softball titles, 2 sectional championships, and a state title. Brian got into coaching through his cousin Richie. Soon after high school graduation, he began helping Richie with different travel teams in Florence. In 1988, he entered Trenton State College, and after a series of pit stops, graduated with a degree in math education in 1995. However, the coaching bug had bitten him. He served 3 years as a volunteer assistant on Coach P's football staff. Finally, in 1991, he became a paid assistant and remained on the staff for many years. He started teaching computer science at Northern in the fall of 1995, and in 1996 became the JV softball coach. 2 years later, he took over the reins as head coach, and thus his storied career and Northern Burlington softball flourished. Never losing his vision of where he wanted to take the program, He experienced only a modicum of success his first year as head coach, finishing 13-13. It was then that his players bought into where he wanted them to go and where he wanted them to go. During the next 7 years, his teams won 20 games a season in 5 of them. The 2 non-20 game seasons, they won 19. His statistics are amazing. But what is equally as important is what he did to Wolverton Field. When he took the helm, the now beautiful award-winning softball field was a combination of field hockey and softball. The hockey players had to play through the infield to get to the goal. Brian changed that. He began with a small step, clearing the backstop area of the grass. Then came the dugouts, which he and a number of parents constructed. Brian, his cousin, and a few parents would be out on the field laying the foundation, mixing mortar, and laying block. It didn't stop there. He had a water line put in, electricity, and lights, and a fence were installed. He rented a sod cutter. He and Mrs. Wolverton skinned the infield. A stolen, and I don't want to say anything about it, Mr. Morgan, or to use another term, a requisition scoreboard was put up along with a batting cage. All this was done through donations, school financial assistance, fundraisers, and a great deal of personal expense. I have to highlight the fundraisers. Brian, his players, and many parents for years worked every Sunday at the Eagle home game selling hot dogs and beer at the stadium. They sold chairs, apparel, and even at one point, he got into the slave trade by selling his girls off for clerical and domestic duties to the staff and faculty. I had Dusty Archer bring me coffee one day a week. Well, she was supposed to bring me, where's Dusty? She was supposed to bring me coffee one day, every day for a week, but I wound up getting it one time. I really wanted some baked goods, but I knew that Dusty couldn't cook or bake. So, and also one of his players through the auction also found her husband. So those of you, I think, know who I'm referring to. All this went in to help finance the facility that we have today. It should also be known that our field maintenance staff did a great job, and they still do. But in the end, it was Bryant who groomed the infield. If a team he was facing was a ground ball hitting team, he would groom the infield one way. If he had a team that couldn't hit or was facing a top of the line pitcher, he would groom it another way. One time, he, with the help of Tony Trongone, were involved with Ballgate. I don't know much about math, physics, or coefficients or anything like that, but both Brian and Tony, being math majors, decided for the want of another term to doctor the balls. And I'll show you what I mean. Did you ever go to a tennis match or see it on television and you see Roger Federer or Serena Williams do this with the balls when they're on the service line and ready to serve? To see which ball was the liveliest and they're going to get the most out of which ball? Well, that makes a lot of sense, right? Well, Brian did just the opposite. He and Tony, whether they were facing or maybe he had a team like the one Dusty was on that couldn't hit. It was either that or they were facing a top-notch pitcher. Brian and Tony would go out, take a number of balls, and being the math major and whiz he thinks he is, they'd drop them like that. Well, I guess physics says they dropped at the same time, but Brian didn't know that. And whichever ball dropped the least, that was the ball they used because they were playing the bunt a lot. So I don't know whether that's genius or madness, but that's a fact. Where are we, Brian? All this being said, it is without a doubt that Coach Wolverton truly belongs in the Northern Burlington Athletic Hall of Fame. Two-time Coach of the Year, two-time Northern Teacher of the Year is a tribute to his commitment to the students, his players, and to the Northern community. 10 of his players received softball scholarships, and hundreds more have become active family and community members. It has been my pleasure to have been but a small part in this successful journey of this outstanding coach, man, and friend. I present Brian Wolverton. There's a ball here somewhere. Don't trip on the damn thing.
Thanks, Coach.
I got to return these.
Yeah. Those are mine. Let me take my notes now. First of all, I don't know what the hell he was talking about with the balls. That absolutely was completely fictitious. And to clarify the slave trade comment, that actually did happen, but not the way that he said it. We had a spaghetti dinner. We auctioned off the girls. If you won a girl, she was your server for the evening. And yes, and Carrie Lee did indeed, was indeed purchased by her current husband. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Lucas, I don't know where he just went, for introducing me. It was truly an honor to have coached for you. You really have no idea how much of an influence you were on me. You talked about you mentioned the idea of that first year clearing the weeds from the backstop. Every year as a coach you get an evaluation. Most of the time nobody even reads it, but I had gone out and I had cleared the weeds, and Mr. Lucas mentioned it in my end of the year coaching report, and it kind of fed me to want to do more, one, to please him, but also to improve the program. Before I continue, I'd like to recognize the people that are here with me, along with all of the many players and families. It was such a surprise and so overwhelming to see you guys, and I appreciate that. But my mother, Mary Ann, is here. My oh-so-lovely wife, Donna, and my cousin Rich, who 25 years ago was the man that got me started in the game of softball. I'd also like to thank Mr. Uzaki for his kind words. Mr. Uzaki coached with me his first year at Northern, and it's so nice to see him doing such a nice job as athletic director. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for all that they do. Having been to some of the meetings, I truly appreciate all that you do to recognize the athletes of Northern Burlington. If you didn't do it, it wouldn't be done. And you give of your time, and it is appreciated. Dr. Saruta, we've been together a long time, since I think you started at Northern a year or two before me. I really don't know what I want to thank you for, but I guess the biggest thing that I'd like to thank you for is your trust. I came to you with a lot of crazy ideas, from wanting to take the girls to Florida to wanting to build dugouts. I had a hand-drawn picture of a vision for the field, and you never questioned me. You gave me all the support that I could ever ask for. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate your friendship over the years. Thank you. Coach Perello. Where is Coach P? Coach, and as you may have heard, that I graduated with Jermaine, and yes, all of that was said about Jermaine is absolutely true. He was the coolest cat on campus, without a doubt. But Jermaine and I also have last names that end in W, so we were in homeroom together for 4 years. We got very close. And as much as I appreciate all of Jermaine's accomplishments at the University of Missouri, Coach Kearns, I can verify that I skipped lifting with Jermaine on a number of occasions to go play basketball. So, but Coach P, I'd like to thank you, because it was from being part of your program and the way that I felt as a member of your program that I wanted to carry on and give to the players that played for me. And I appreciate that. You were a huge influence on me growing up. From the first time that you picked me up walking to lifting on a hot day in July in the summer going into my sophomore year, and you took me under your wing, and we played basketball together and we played tennis together, and you were a huge influence on the man that I am today. My cousin Rich, I'd like to thank you, one, for introducing me to the game of softball, and more importantly, for teaching me that it was okay to coach girls hard, that they would respond, and that they would appreciate honest criticism, and they would work just as hard as the boys, if not harder. And I appreciate that. Art McDonald, Art is in the back. Art's daughter, Carrie, was on my first team. She was I believe, a sophomore on my first team. Art, wealth of baseball knowledge. Every game, I'd come home and there'd be an email from Art with a list of all of the things that we did wrong. In no way was it taken or given as a negative. It was someone with a history in the sport trying to help a young coach, and it was greatly appreciated. Art, I still have every one of those emails. Ed Fitzpatrick, where are you, Fitz? My number one assistant coach. I absolutely could not have done it without you. We had a vision for where we wanted to take the program, what we wanted to do with the girls, and you were a big part of that. And I still remember when we almost came to blows standing in center field, because I was always under the belief that if you play good enough defense, the other team doesn't score, you're never going to lose. And we never practiced hitting. And it finally got to the point where Fitz boiled over, and it almost came to blows. But we modified how we did things, and it took a real man to be able to tell me that, because I am stubborn, and I do have a plan, and I appreciate all of your support over the years. Walking in tonight, I wasn't sure who was going to show up, and it is overwhelming to see some of you guys. There are girls here that were on the first team that I ever coached. That was, 17, 18 years ago. And to see the parents, we worked every Eagles game for 9 years. And there are a number of parents that worked with me at that first game. Big Tom, do you remember that? Remember walking up that ramp? Yeah. And there's no way that we could have accomplished what we did as a program without the support of the parents that are still here and still part of Donna and my lives. And I appreciate, one, all that you've done, but just the fact that you guys are here, it means so much to me. Bear with me. I am a crier. It will happen. My friends at the front table I know have a running bet. I'm not sure what the over-under is, but so as Mr. Lucas said, I spent the first 2 years out of college as the JV coach at Northern. That was because Mr. Lucas decided to give the job. I interviewed with the wrestling coach at the time. He had no experience in softball. I wanted to be the softball coach. I wanted to take over the program, and in his infinite wisdom, Mr. Lucas decided to give it to the wrestling coach, which was a wonderful choice. Thank you. Thank you. But I took over the program in, I think, '98, and I had a very specific philosophy. I never really shared it with any of the girls or any of the coaches, but my belief was I wanted my girls to feel special because they played for me. And that was everything that I did. I always kept that goal in mind. And each year I would set 3 individual goals. One goal was to make some sort of improvement to the facilities, and Mr. Lucas mentioned many of them, from the clearing of the weeds to the skinning of the infield. Funny story, as Mr. Lucas said, when I took over, field hockey played through the outfield, and I was told that I don't remember what year it was, but that fall would be the last year that field hockey had to share the field, and they'd be moving. And I believe I was coaching field hockey that year. Yes. So we ended our season on a Friday, knowing how school boards work. Changes can be made at any time, so I didn't want to give them the option to say that we're not going to be able to have a dedicated field. So that Saturday morning, my wife and I, we went and rented a sod cutter, and we started cutting the warning track so that there's no way that they could play field hockey. Well, we got about a third of the way across the field, and all these cars start coming in. Well, there was a state playoff game being played on our field that day, and had we started on the other side of the field, they would have had a warning track through the middle of the field hockey field. But Donna was right there with me, on her hands and knees, rolling up the sod, putting it on the trailer so we could take it away. But again, every year we tried to make some sort of improvement to the facilities. The next goal that I always had, and I still to this day I have, is every year I try to improve the softball, whether it's learning new techniques as a coach, listening to other coaches, how we run bases, or what drills that we do. But every year we made a conscious effort to improve the softball on the field. And then the last goal that I would set every year is I would do something that would make softball special, that would make the other sports at Northern jealous of us. And it just added to the girls feeling special. From the idea, taking the girls to Florida, we remember that first Florida trip. Liz, you felt the top bunk bed. Well, first the flight was delayed about 4 hours because Spirit Air only has one flight flying out of Newark. They fixed the plane. We get there about 2 o'clock in the morning. Liz gets on the top bunk and it falls through. There's only one team at the facility for us to play, so we ended up playing them 3 times. A transformer was blown in the middle of a game, so in the middle of a pitch, the entire facility went black. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was probably we did trips to Florida for 9 years after that, and that trip was the best trip we ever had. We came back from that trip, and Northern softball was now a family, and to this day we still have those same connections. Some of the other things that we did, we instituted, thanks to Coach Kearns' tutelage and working with him with football, we instituted an off-season strength and conditioning program. And it got to the point, and sorry to any of the football players that were there at the time, but it got to the point where we were organized and training hard to the point that we would chase the football team out of the squat rack. Stacy remembers, one year we took 4 girls to the state powerlifting championships. And I believe we took a couple of firsts and a couple of seconds. So it was, again, the idea of making the girls feel special for being part of Northern softball. But if you really want to know what it takes to be a Hall of Fame coach, Julie takes notes. What the ball thing right now? Yeah. What it really takes is you get yourself a bunch of great athletes. You work them as hard as you possibly can, and you try every day not to screw them up. Because they're going to play hard, they're going to make mistakes. Let them play, teach them how to work hard. And if you're lucky, one of them will be a pitcher, because you need a pitcher in softball. And if you're really lucky, as I was, you'll have 2 or 3 classes. They'll be staggered by a couple of years. I'm looking here at the first class that I had, who ended up going to a sectional final in 2000. And then Dusty's class wins a state title in 2002. And then the 2005 class. So you get a bunch of good kids, stagger them over a couple of years. You have no say over that, and that puts together a quality coaching career. Last but not least, to my wonderful wife, Donna. So many times at banquets and at things like this, I thank her for helping with the fundraising at every one of those Eagles games. Donna was selling the hot dogs. She was working at the concerts at the Tweeter Center. The couple of years when we would go at 5 o'clock in the morning and pick up bagels and sell them in the cafeteria, she would help with that. But Donna's biggest influence over my program was her ability to connect the players, the parents, and obviously the coaches. It's really hard as a coach to be everywhere for everyone, and I guess that's why we are such a good team, Donna, because I couldn't have been the success that I was without you, not just supporting me, but being a part of the program. The connections that she had with the girls, she tells me stories of, late night gossip sessions and hearing their troubles, and those are things that they couldn't do with me. And you being part of that just added to Northern softball. And I truly am appreciative of that. I'm going back to my notes because there are some notes at the bottom, but they're not in my writing. I think they're in Donna's writing. Donna, you are loving and compassionate, not just to me, but to my players. And if you ask any of them, they will tell you how much they know that Donna truly cared about them. And Donna, I love you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach Wolverton. All right, last and certainly not least is our presentation of the 1995 football team by Coach Charlie Perello. Hey, Coach P. I guess maybe it's better. Is this on? Can everyone hear me? Is this on? Okay, good. It wasn't easy crawling out from the bus that Jermaine threw me under, but I got up here anyway. My goodness, Jermaine, I hope I didn't use that tactic to recruit you, but if I did, amen. You played football. It was all good. I want to first of all congratulate all the award winners tonight. What an outstanding class. And Joanne Hench and Al Wanish and Brian, everybody that's been introduced, just tremendous athletes, tremendous people, and very indicative of what has become a mainstay of Northern Burlington. Just the quality of student athletes that we have year in, year out. It's just amazing. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, of course, for everything they do. And you know,
as I get ready to introduce the team, I realize that, you know, time has robbed me of many things. I don't have 20/20 vision anymore. My hearing isn't as good as it used to be, especially when my wife is talking to me. The follicles have disappeared quite a bit. But what I have not lost is my love for this district, my love for the student athletes here, and of course, love for our football players. I'm just filled with so much pride. I come here and I see John Rising, who played for us, and Brian Wolverton, who played for us, and Jewel Dosey, who played for us, and they're here coaching now and giving back, and that's just a great feeling of satisfaction on my part. And I want to congratulate Jewel on his being awarded District Coach of the Year. I think great accomplishment. And Brian, they say a mediocre coach tells his players what to do, his or her players. Average coach explains it. A good coach, well, they demonstrate it, but a great coach inspires. And you are a great coach, Brian. And just proud to have you play for us. You know, Woody Allen said he wanted to achieve immortality by not dying. I think that's a great way to do it. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But when you coach and you're able to see that being passed on to your players who then become coaches, and you see them passing it on, I think that's another way to achieve that lofty goal, and I'm so proud of all those guys. Before I go any further and introduce the team and talk a little bit about them, I just want to express my thoughts and sadness over the passings of Vince Santaniolo, one of our players who was taken from us much too quickly, and of course Gary Smith, who recently passed away, one of our coaches. It's just personally a feeling of emptiness not to have either of those people here tonight, and I just hope that you'll remember them in your prayers. What happens on the field with this team sport is a result of many factors that occur even before we go into our first practice. And on behalf of our team and coaches, first of all, I want to express gratitude to our Board of Education, who year after year just supports athletics at our school and gives coaches the things they need to be successful. And without that kind of support, or without a superintendent like Dr. Saruda, who has played sports, who understands their value and what they can do to just improve the overall environment in the school and how it helps our kids grow, you just can't be successful without that kind of support. And to Mr. Lucas, who was our AD, just working with him, with Jack, he is just such an inspiration, and he's every coach's dream as an athlete to have as an athletic director. And following in his footsteps, Chris Haynes, just can't say enough about her and what she has done to help our program as well. And now Dr. Zaki, who I remember being a part of appointing him as a coach in the middle school when he started there. So that's awesome stuff to see this kind of tradition going on. And then the little things that happen to help a team be successful. Mr. Tony Leonard sitting back there, and all you guys can remember Tony's son played for us on the 1980 team, and now in 1995 his grandson Mike is playing. But every Friday night he hosted the players at his home, got food for them, and they didn't sit there idly. They were watching film most of the night and really studying the Saturday's opponent. And it's things like that people don't see that are happening on the inside that bring back the success that we have. Facebook has just been tremendous, been able to stay in touch with a lot of people and see what's happening with them, with their families. and I'm just so happy to be here. I'd like to introduce our coaches, and I'd like to have them come up here and help me. We've got some CDs for our players of the championship game, and we also have the highlight tape from the season on the CD. So I'd like to, did I say CD? It's a DVD, right? Whatever it is. I still have trouble finding the delete button on a computer. So, but let me introduce our coaching staff for that year. Brian Wolverton was one of our assistant coaches. Bruce Martz, who's not here now, but John Rising was part of that staff. John, please come up. Dr. Andrew Kearns. Joe Washington, who's not here this evening, and Hank Kearns. You know, so much could be said about coaches and what they do and the time they put in, but I don't think anybody's looking for any accolades at this point. We just enjoyed doing what we did. We were honored to be a part of it, and we were honored to coach these young men. This team won a Patriot Division championship. They were a Group 2 school with a schedule that included 3 Group 4 schools, 2 of which were in the division. They made the playoffs when only 4 teams went to the playoffs. And led by, you know, Hank Kearns, who did a tremendous job on defense year after year with us, and Mike Hensley, who was an all-state linebacker. And on the offense, of course, Player of the Year, Burlington County Player of the Year, Maurice Bin. They were just tremendous assets to the team. What I would like to do, what I was hoping we could do, was have the team stay after and watch the highlight tape, but I don't think we have the capability of doing that. And I don't want to keep people here any longer than we have to. So we'll find a way to get together, guys, and take a look at that. And I would love you to all stick around after we're done here so that we can spend some time embellishing the stories that we already know we can tell in the season and all. But let me introduce the players. And again, I'm just going to introduce the players. I could talk 10 minutes on each one. I don't want to do that. I want to get them up here, and then if you guys have something that you might want to say, we'll let you do that, okay? So, what did they say? Oh, don't let die. All right, we'll start with Dante Bass. I'm just going to go in alphabetical order here. Maurice Bin. You're going to notice a lot of guys are sporting a haircut, you know, basically. Supporting their guns. Derek Hendricks.
Exactly the same.
Mike Hensley. Yeah. Andrew Klimkowski. Ed Klusman, one of our captains. while there, partner. How you doing? I'm good. Good. Roy Kramer. By the way, I have a list of everybody, and if I leave someone out, please, let me know. Won't be the first time I screwed up. All right. Jason Lister. Vince Moore. Jerry Atavi. Ellery Perfect. Jeff Richardson. Kevin Robinson. He doesn't want to get up. Scott Silva. Ricky Sneak. Tom Stewart. Joe Van Mater. Gus is with us.
Gus is with us.
All right, there's two people that aren't on the list here that kind of snuck in. I don't know if they snuck in. I'm not saying they snuck in, but I don't know why. But we got to have them up here. Stevie Clay. Where are you, Stevie?
Davius Griffin. Where are you, Davis? How the hell are you? God, how the hell are you doing?
What's up? I still tell stories about you. Exactly the same. Playing the game, man. Yep. I think you lost
The 1995 Group 2 State Championship, Northern Burlington.
Can I grab the mic?
Anybody that wants to say something, you can. But I got to grab the mic real quick because there's a couple things that I need to acknowledge about the team that I don't know if anybody remembers, but I do. We won our first 2 games, and after our second game, I'll never forget this ever in my life. We hopped on the bus, and usually it's a celebration. Everybody's happy you won. We got on the bus, and it looked like we were at a funeral. And nobody was happy. Everybody was upset, and everybody had the same feeling of like, man, we won, but it didn't go right. And I'll never forget that we had a team meeting, and on Monday we're supposed to watch film. And instead of just watching film, we said, Coach, we need to talk to you. And one of the best gifts that I have for Mr. Perello is that he had the freedom to let us do what we wanted to do as well within the system. And we said, Coach, we need to beat people by more. And we need to kick people's butts, not just win. And it was probably one of the best things that, if guys remember, we were sitting around and we're like, man, we're better than this. And we need to throw the ball. And we need to do this, we need to do that. And Coach P, by far to me, one of the things that I remember is allowing the team to be a team. We had different personalities, we had a lot of different things, and you didn't try to put us in a box. And I wish Mr. Washington was here because we were just joking that our freshman year he wouldn't let us listen to music on the bus. And it was war, it was serious. You're going to war, and we didn't feel that way. We were like, man, let's go party. We're going to go have fun and kick butt on the field. And Perello let us be us. And ironically, Mr. Wolverton's getting inducted, and he was a guy that he was pretty intense. And I'm laughing, and I'm like, I'm ready to play. And he's like, are you ready? I'm like, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to play. He's like, no, show me your war face. And I'm like, this is about the good as you're going to get. I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to play. And then he banged me in the head. And I had my helmet on. And but it felt like he had a helmet on. And it was, this guy was intense. And I'll never forget that stuff. And Coach Kearns, the drill sergeant. He made you, I loved when we finally played games because that means we didn't have to run anymore. This guy, we would take turns like, where are we gonna hide? Can we hide under the bleachers? Can we hide it? Where can we hide? No matter, me and Dante were just, and Stevie were talking that no matter what rep you were on, it was 3 more. So we would lie. I'm on 15, he'd be like, 3 more and 2 more sets. But he prepared us, and it was an honor to play for everybody. And I was like, Coach Kearns, I remember when he came up with the gray dog, and again, he was intense with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm serious, He would get more serious, and the coaching staff really fueled us. And I know as a team, I see everybody getting inducted, and it's pretty cool to be inducted with everybody and not just, I know everybody in here, a lot of people did a lot of individual awards and a lot of individual accomplishments, but to be everybody together, it took everybody. It wasn't just a quarterback, it wasn't just a lineman, it wasn't just a wide receiver. It's pretty cool because when I think back about it, I know that none of us could have did it without each other. And I appreciate it, and I miss all you guys.
And that season almost didn't happen because we almost lost a quarterback that year. It was the first day of contact. And we're running a goal line drill. And Maurice, with his big personality, decided he wanted to talk. So Coach Perello decides he's going to have this great idea. He says, Hensley, Maurice, goal line. We ran a tackling drill, and Mr. Smith says, oh no, Charlie. Season's over. Needless to say, he got up, everything went well. You know, I love you guys. Coach P, Brian, we're a lot closer, you know, through the years. With Coach Kearns, you know, it was always, I wish I could have blitzed more. But you know what, it's been 20 years, but I can remember the season like it was yesterday. These guys were like my best friends. We hung out every weekend. We did a lot, and you know, it's nice, like Marie said, that we're all getting inducted together. So thank you very much.
Everybody caught me off guard here, so I prepared a few things. Now, when I look at this coaching staff, I mean, you know, one thing you have to look back and you go, if anybody follows NFL football and they see a really good leader in their coaching staff, that typically means there's going to be about 5 or 6 other good coaches that come out of that staff. And I think that's exemplary here of what you see across the board. So thank you. You know, I want to share a couple things. First, it's an honor and a privilege with these men to be up here 20 years later. But I want to tell everybody a little bit about a gray dog, because a lot of people don't understand what that means. You know, tonight is a good time just to reflect upon it for a minute, and we're going to certainly do that with our team, but let me share a few things with you guys. You know, for a group, for some of us in the group, it started back in September. In 1992, there was 40 freshmen on a football team. And we headed on a bus down to Hamilton. And we played in a tropical storm weather with wind and rain. The sky was blood orange. And we came out with a victorious win, 6-0. And for a lot of us, it felt like the first time we put on the gear and played a real game of football. And then when you come back and you look at that, that was actually the spark of what really was a championship for us, because it really was what gave us what we needed to get through. And then we got humiliated by 12 individuals from Florence that same year on the Northern home football field. Embarrassing, if some of you remember, you're nodding your head. I mean, all we had to do was take out 2 guys, you know, that's all we needed to do. Couldn't do it. We turned the page to the fall of 1995. We opened the season on a Friday night against South Jersey's top team, Delran. Despite a passing monsoon, we were one of the only football games that was played that night and not rescheduled. For those of you that remember and were part of that game, you were drenched before the kickoff. For us, the blue and gray, it was all odds were in our favor. And our defense gnawed and it shut down one of the best fullbacks in the state, and it ended in a football recovery, 6-0. The underdog victory fueled our desire to earn some respect, and it solidified our name of the Northern Burlington Gray Dog. The next several games, we showcased some offensive power that Northern football program hasn't seen since the 80s. And we continued on our journey to gain respect as we piled up points and for more Gray Dog victories against our rivals. We're lucky to have such a good core of unselfish leaders in our senior team and many underclassmen that had just developed skills, including one of our kickers who put through the upright in the final seconds to ruin the expected doormat homecoming for Holy Cross. Based on our size, and I don't mean by today, our team was usually a pound for pound the smallest in the field. But we were intelligent in exploiting other teams and had a nasty defensive bite. We secured another victory in a divisional game against Morristown, and that resulted in a guaranteed divisional championship and the birth of a Group 2 football playoff. But it still wasn't at the level of respect that we thought we deserved. In late November, in the first round of the state playoffs, the Northern team headed back on a bus to Hamilton. And they were the previous two-time defending state champs. There was only a few local small farm towns in the peak of Northern Burlington that was picking the Grey Dogs to win. But we found a way to face the Giants and defensively control the game and would leave Hamilton once again victorious. The Greyhound Gods were also with us that day because they actually helped us by ensuring the #1 seed and fulfilled a dream of hosting a state championship at the farm. I don't feel the need to describe the details of the championship game because for those of us that lived it, it's the story for the ages. And the fish only gets bigger as time goes by. What I can tell you is that the Grey Dogs left everything on the field. We learned humility from underestimating the competition. We learned how to take a few unexpected hits. But we also learned what happened when you put a Grey Dog into a corner. Like our past teammate, Vincent, who found every way to make sure that we recover that fumble. And in that December day, the Grey Dogs also learned what it takes to earn respect. And we will cherish in that victory forever. To all my teammates, my coaches, and those involved, I couldn't be more proud of what we accomplished that season, and it will always be a treasured memory for us. As our lives continue and we reflect back on those moments, we will realize that despite the storybook battles that took place, those may be some of the easier victories in our life. I wish the best for all of you, and I want you to reflect upon the spirit of the Grey Dog, which is respected and earned to help you through all of what life brings your way. You know we all have each other's back, especially when you're in the corner. God bless you, Grey Dogs. Woo-hoo!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just one more final round of applause for all of our inductees tonight, our 2016 Hall of Fame, 9th annual. I do want to say, before I end this, there's desserts out on the patio. Please feel free to make a way out there and grab some dessert and coffee before you leave and reminisce with the others. Thank you for coming out tonight, everybody.